Between the shelves, in the narrow crack between two rows of books, there were two eyes staring back at me. I recognized them immediately. This was the third time I'd seen this man in the last 15 minutes. And now I understood that wasn't a coincidence. He wasn't browsing. He was following me. Let me tell you how I got to that moment. It was the day before Mother's Day, 2024. I was 18 years old, working at a tea shop in the mall. The kind of job that doesn't pay much, but pays better than nothing when you're about to graduate high school and trying to save for college. I liked it. I liked my coworkers, and the location was convenient. The mall sat right next to a bookstore, so I could grab things on my way home without making a separate trip. After my shift, I went to the bookstore to pick up a gift bag for my mom. That was it. A gift bag. That was all I needed. When I walked through the entrance, a man was walking toward me. Pale skin, dark hair, a thin face with prominent cheekbones, a gray jacket and black sweatpants. He looked to be in his late 30s or early 40s. He was staring at me. I noticed it immediately. But I told myself I was probably overthinking it. I dress in a Gothic style. I also use a cane because of a disability that affects how I walk. I assumed maybe that's what caught his attention. My clothes, my cane. People stare sometimes. I tried not to read too much into it. I found the gift bag section and sat down on the floor to check whether everything I'd bought would fit inside the one I'd chosen. And that's when I noticed him again. Still there, still staring. I tried to ignore it. I started putting my purchases back into my shopping bag. Then he moved. He walked directly over to me and stood above me, close, and extended his hand. "Let me help you up." I looked up at him and said very politely, "Oh, I'm all right, but thank you." And I noticed something as I looked at his hand. His skin had a strange yellow tint to it, almost like jaundice. I didn't know what to make of it. I just wanted distance. He said nothing in response. He just watched as I used my cane to support myself and slowly stood up. Then I walked away, as quickly as I could, which, because of my limp, isn't very fast. My legs can only carry me so fast. I was starting to feel something in my stomach that I couldn't quite name. I walked until I thought I had enough distance. Then I quietly approached another customer, a man browsing nearby, and I whispered to him. I asked if there was a man behind me. He looked. He said no, he didn't see anyone. He asked if I was okay. I told him I was fine. I apologized for bothering him. I said there was just a guy who had been creeping me out a little, but I was probably being paranoid. I thanked him and walked away. And then I started mentally kicking myself. I told myself, that man was probably just being nice. He saw someone sitting on the floor and offered his hand. That's not a crime. I was overreacting. I was too nervous. Just relax. Just look at the books. And that is when I saw the eyes in the shelf. The same man, watching me through the gap between two rows of books. He had positioned himself on the other side of the shelf and was looking directly at me through the crack. When he realized I'd seen him, he moved. Quickly. He came around to my side. I turned to the nearest table, grabbed a random book, and pretended to read the back cover. I was hoping if I looked occupied, he would lose interest and leave. He didn't. He walked straight up to me. His head was slightly lowered, but his eyes stayed level, locked onto mine. He didn't break eye contact for a single second. I remember struggling to describe the way he looked at me, even now. It felt threatening in a way that's hard to fully put into words. And then he spoke. He said, while holding eye contact without blinking, "Hey, I just wanted to let you know that I wasn't staring at you because of your cane. I just think you have a very, very nice face. A great body, too." I put the book down. I backed away. All I could manage was a quiet, "Oh, okay, thank you." And then I turned and walked deeper into the store. I was terrified. That's the only word for it. I started moving through the store, looking for anyone I could walk near so I wouldn't be alone. I took odd turns. I doubled back. I tried to put shelves and corners between us. I was trying to lose him, but I kept thinking about how slowly I move, and I knew he would catch up to me again. I felt like a wounded animal being followed. I've never felt so helpless in my life. And then I found the best possible person I could have found in that moment. He was tall and muscular, with a full beard, tattoos running up both arms, a septum piercing, and a black baseball cap with U.S. Marines embroidered across the front. I walked right up to him, breathless, and asked if I could please walk with him and pretend he was my dad. He said, of course. No questions asked. As we started walking together, someone else approached us. It was the man I'd whispered to earlier. The one who'd told me he didn't see anyone behind me. He recognized me. He asked if the man who had just said something about my face was the same one I'd been asking him about. I said yes. He said he'd heard the exchange from a few shelves away. He'd heard how uncomfortable I sounded, and it made him nervous, so he'd watched the man for a while. Then he said, "He's outside right now. He's waiting for you at the door. He's still staring inside the store." My stomach dropped. He was waiting. He had left the store, walked around, and positioned himself outside. And he was still staring through the glass at me. He knew I had to leave eventually. He knew I couldn't stay inside forever. The Marine, the man who warned me, and I stood together. A woman shopping nearby overheard what was happening and walked over with her daughter. Both of them said they wanted to stay until I was picked up safely. They were the ones who reminded me, gently but firmly, that I needed to text someone for a ride right now, not later. I texted my mom. She lived 20 minutes away. I felt terrible about it, about all these people waiting, rearranging their evening because of me. I told them they didn't have to stay. Every single one of them insisted. We stood together for about 25 minutes. At some point, bookstore employees came over and asked if I was all right. They told me they would call the police if I wanted them to. And I said no. I told them not to call. I was so deep in fear at that point that I couldn't face the idea of police arriving, asking me questions, making a report. I just wanted to go home. I just wanted it to be over. They said they understood. They said they would keep an eye out. When my mom texted that she was outside, all of us moved together toward the front doors. I looked out through the glass. I didn't see him anywhere. I actually made a small joke. I said that if he'd been waiting out there for nearly 30 minutes, that would be a frightening level of dedication. I almost let myself believe he was gone. The woman stopped walking. She touched my arm and whispered, "Is that him? Behind the concrete beam next to the door?" I didn't understand what she meant at first. I was looking straight ahead, and from that angle there was nothing to see. But if you approached the doors from the side rather than straight on, you could just barely see the edge of the concrete support beams flanking the entrance. He was standing with his back flat against the beam. Still. pressed against the concrete so that from inside the store, looking straight ahead, you would never see him. "He's hiding behind the beam," I said. The Marine and the woman immediately moved to position themselves so I was between them. The woman's daughter raised her phone and started filming. The man was still staring in my direction and only looked away when he realized the camera was on him. My mom's car pulled up. We moved fast. I thanked them. We drove away, taking turns we didn't need to take, watching every car behind us. I made it home. I was safe. I didn't report him. That was the decision I made, in a moment of pure panic, and I have carried it ever since. For a long time, I tried not to think about it. I pushed the memory down and focused on moving forward. Graduating, starting college, building a new chapter. Then, in my forensic science class, my professor taught us about the first case in the United States where someone was convicted using DNA evidence. His name was Tommy Lee Andrews. He was a serial rapist and killer, and the way he found his victims, the method my professor described, was that he would locate women at a local mall, and then he would follow them home. The second I heard that, everything I had pushed down came back. I sat in that classroom and I thought about the man in the gray jacket. I thought about the way he waited behind the beam. I thought about what would have happened if I had walked out of that store alone. If I hadn't found the Marine. If the woman and her daughter hadn't stayed. If the other man hadn't warned me. I thought about what he might have done. And I thought about the women who came after me. What if he did this again? What if the next person wasn't surrounded by people who insisted on staying? I could have made a report. I had witnesses. I had employees ready to call. And I said no. I will never know what he went on to do. I will never know what he intended to do to me. And I will carry that uncertainty for the rest of my life. I'm not sharing this to be told I did everything right, because I know I didn't, not at the end. I'm sharing it because that afternoon taught me something I wish someone had told me before. Your gut is not paranoia. When you notice someone staring and something in you tightens, that tightness is information. When the same person appears behind a bookshelf, that is not a coincidence. When your body wants you to move, you move. I was 18. I was alone. I was in pain and scared, and I just wanted to go home. I understand now why I made the decision I made, but understanding it doesn't make the weight of it any lighter. If you're ever in a situation where something feels wrong, ask a stranger for help. Find the most solid-looking person nearby and ask them to walk with you. Most people, when faced with a scared young woman asking for help, will say yes without a single question. The Marine did. The woman did. Her daughter did. The man who warned me did. The bookstore employees did. There are still people in this world who will stand between you and something dangerous and not ask for anything in return. I know that now. I just wish I had done one more thing before I drove away. If this story stayed with you, if you've ever talked yourself out of a feeling that turned out to be right, leave a comment. I read every single one. A like helps someone else find this when they need it. And if you want to hear more stories like this one, subscribing means you won't miss the next one.